shopping for an all-new Lexus, for example, but you aren't too big of a fan of all of the giant touchscreen focus controls inside and the bold styling, and it might be too expensive in your price range, but you want to stay within the Toyota Lexus family. But you also don't want a full SUV, you want something more car-like, maybe a little bit wagon-like, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more traditional. Well, this might be an answer for you. This is the all-new 2025 Toyota Crown Signia. And in other markets, it's really called the Crown Estate, which means it's sort of like a wagon, but in the sense of like a Subaru Outback or a Volvo V60 Cross Country, it's higher off the ground, yet still has those more car-like driving experiences versus something like a Lexus NX, RX, or a Toyota RAV4, or previous generation Toyota Venza for that aspect. So this all-new Crown Signia, it's Japanese built, designed, engineered. It's now the second Crown product we're getting in the United States. It's very interesting. There's a lot of quirks and features, and I'm going to try my best to explain how this vehicle fits in between this kind of mainstream / luxury segment. It's in this premium space here, and see how it fits into the Toyota Lexus lineup as well as the broader vehicle lineup here in the United States. Now, this all-new Toyota Crown Signia comes in one powertrain lineup, and that is a hybrid. It is a hybrid only. Of course, the Crown sedan / SUV thing can get the hybrid max powertrain. This one cannot for some reason. I'm assuming they don't want to overlap it too much with some other more powerful Lexus products or even more powerful Toyota products. I guess it's a little bit more of a unique product. Of course, this is Toyota's tried and true 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, of course mounted transversely up front here and paired with 3 electric motors. The rear wheels are being driven by electric motors only. We have another electric motor up here with the eCVT. In total, we're getting around 240-ish horsepower in that range. The torque figure isn't really listed because it's kind of complicated how the system produces its power, but you know, we're very familiar with this powertrain. It's in an insane amount of Toyota and Lexus products. It's been proven, it's reliable, and it returns pretty solid fuel economy in this Crown Signia, which is a pretty big sort of mid-size vehicle. We've been getting on average 38 mpg. If like you're driving in any scenario, you're honestly going to get around 38 mpg. If you're really being more efficient with it, we've been seeing numbers in the 40s, which is pretty good, but nothing outstanding, nothing disappointing. So it's really strong on fuel economy, and that means you're going to get quite a lot of range out of this vehicle. I have driven this car now for a week, nonstop, pretty much every day, and I still have more than half a tank of range, which is crazy. I think we started out around almost 450, 500 miles of range. We're now like around like 300-ish in that area. So it's really impressive on fuel. So this is going to be a great vehicle to get if you are a fuel conscious buyer nowadays. And of course you can put regular in this. And since this is a more widely used, it's not an all new ground up powertrain, parts are available everywhere. They know these powertrains last forever, and they're really durable, really reliable. And that's one of the main reasons why you might want to purchase or be interested in this vehicle. It's also made in Japan, so it's a little bit more lower volume, lower build, more higher quality, I would say, in some areas than some more run-of-the-mill Toyota products. So there's a lot of interesting things about this vehicle that may make you consider it over a other Toyota or another Lexus product, for example. Another really key feature of this all-new Toyota Crown Signia, of course, is its design. It already stands out in being this unique sort of raised wagon-esque vehicle. I really don't personally want to call it an SUV because I really don't see it like that. But also this whole front fascia is this new Toyota look. And this is definitely the most unique looking version of this new Toyota face we've seen in the United States. Very reminiscent to things we've seen like on the all-new Prius, the all-new Camry, and all the other Crown products that we do not get and probably will not get in the United States. But I think this is honestly one of the best looking new Toyotas I think on the market right now. I love this new C-shaped kind of light design over here. We have this kind of unique body colored front fascia with this kind of grille pattern blended into it. And again, it's really playing in that unique premium segment in between the mainstream as well as the Lexus brand. So it's kind of blending, I think, styling elements from both areas as well. We have some opening area over here for some cooling, obviously for the engine, the hybrid system. And our main headlight beams are actually located all the way down here. This is a very common trend we're seeing in the automotive industry right now. I would say they're okay in terms of placement at night. I wish they were a little bit more direct and brighter, but generally, you know, they're pretty bright for full LED headlights. Also playing into this kind of premium unique segment of the Crown Signia, we have unique wheels. Now, these are 21-inch wheels, which is, you know, something you're not going to be seeing on your typical run-of-the-mill Toyota product, but it's something you'll see more on Lexus models. And I honestly think these wheels are awesome. They look fantastic. They really fill out these wheel arches, big wheel arches really well, and it plays into that unique kind of sort of crossover wagon SUV style body design. I think it actually looks quite fantastic. And Toyota knew what they were doing here. They even included these nice gloss black painted fender arches as well as the trim throughout the entire exterior of this vehicle. It looks way more premium than having this kind of scratchier, unfinished black plastic. And again, with these wheels, I think they look really great in this dark graphite finish here. I will say though that I think because they're 21 inches, you do get a little bit more reverberations coming into the cabin versus a smaller wheel and a little bit thicker sidewall, but these are pretty decent sidewalls on these Bridgestone tires over here. And I have to say, the sound insulation for this vehicle is actually quite good. Nowhere near as isolated and premium as a Lexus is, but way better than a run-of-the-mill Camry or Toyota. I think it does a good job in that aspect. Hopping around to the rear end of the all-new Crown Signia, you can really see that more wagon-esque body design that Toyota is putting on this unique vehicle, but you can also see how they tried to make it a little bit more SUV-like and not as super squinted and low as a wagon, but kind of a little bit more stretched out than typical. But this is, again, a very unique vehicle in the Toyota lineup in terms of its design and features it's offering. Back here, of course, we can see that nice gloss black trim everywhere. I really like these bright aluminum finished roof rails over there and this huge panoramic roof we're getting in this Toyota Crown Signia. And I like the body of this vehicle in terms of this wagon-esque design. But let's open up the trunk here, see what we have going on in the back of the Crown Signia. Of course, fully powered rear tailgate. This is more of a premium Toyota product. And you'll already notice that from the opening of the inside of this vehicle. We have aluminum scuff plates back here, which are quite nice. And what's great about this sort of wagon-esque body format is that we have a really tall, wide openings to kind of put stuff in, and it's lower to the ground than a typical SUV, so it's easier to kind of load stuff into the rear of the vehicle. And this is a pretty decently sized rear cargo space, and I like how Toyota is including this unique Toyota Crown rear mat back here with this awesome kind of white piping around it, which makes it look a little bit more premium-esque. Even this cargo cover over here has some like faux stitching in it, which makes it feel a little bit nicer, and I think that's quite nice of a touch. We were able to fit some pretty big IKEA boxes back here, so without even moving the seats, so I think you have quite a lot of space over here. It's kind of blending in between the size of like something like an RX and like a RAV4 or an NX in that essence, a little bit in between there, but you're still getting quite a lot of cargo space over here, which is quite nice. Opening up the floor area over here, you're going to find not much else because you have hybrid batteries in this vehicle. You have a little bit of some like extra cargo storage space over here. Your actual 12-volt batteries in the back over here as well, for I guess weight distribution purposes as well, or just packaging. But it's a pretty nice rear cargo space. And when you fold the seats down, actually, you got these really cool kind of covers that come out that enable you to have a more of a flat floor for putting stuff in, which is really cool. Now to better show what I'm talking about with these rear seats is you have to fold them from the front area over here, but when they fold down, I noticed this interesting little flap back here that if you fold out completely, it gives you more of a flat floor to put stuff in your rear cargo space, and I think that is a really cool touch there. It's also very sturdy and has pass-throughs to get into your tether for your rear car seats, but this is pretty cool. Very sturdy of a design here, and the seats fold down pretty easily. Okay guys, let's go hop in the rear seats now of the Crown Signia. Now I also want to mention we have our fuel cover door over here, which is locked. You do have to press it by a button size because it's a hybrid, it's pressurized. And let's go hop inside the rear end of the Crown Signia's seats. Now, since this is a mid-sized vehicle, you are getting a little bit more space than you typically would, obviously in like a smaller car like a Camry or a RAV4, but you do have to notice here that the doors do not open fully in a 90-degree angle. It's a little bit more of a closed angle area over here. And this is kind of where you can see how the car is sort of this wagon-esque design. It's a little bit lower of a roof line here. So more SUVs would have a taller roof line over here. So you might have to duck in just a little bit getting in. On the door panels over here, it's kind of a nicer material than a typical Toyota. This is not hard plastic. This is soft touch. We do have this nice kind of leather on the door over here. A nice big pocket for a cup or a bottle down there, which is nice. And I like how these doors go all the way down past the side of the vehicle. So if there's any dirt, it's gonna stay on the outside of the door, not over here, and it won't get on your pant legs, which is quite nice. I have our hybrid battery system stored underneath the seats area over here. So we have some vents, but otherwise it's a pretty easy entry access to get in terms of the leg space, which is quite nice. Let's hop inside, close up the door. Pretty nice solid thunk over here, which is also quite nice. And you'll see we have some speakers back here as part of our upgraded JBL audio system. So how is it back here in the Crown Signia? Well, I have to say it's pretty spacious actually. We also have heated seats, which are button on the door, which is kind of cool. Power windows, of course. And everything is quite very, very solid and nice. It's very traditional Toyota in that sense. We have very traditional door handles. We don't have like the digital door handles that Lexuses have, but everything here is designed to work and last forever. Again, nice contrasting color on these door panels over here. We have this kind of gold trim throughout the entire interior, which is part of that Crown theme. We have pockets on the backs of both seats, which is really nice in terms of storage capacity, and they're fully wrapped in the same leather that the front of the seat in, which is quite nice. I have a good amount of foot space, lots of leg room and knee room, which is quite nice. And these seats are generally quite comfortable. Actually, there's a lot of support. There's a decent amount of kind of sculpting to it, so it doesn't feel like you're just sitting too upright, which is quite nice, though they don't recline at all. We do have a center armrest over here with these two big cup holders, which is also nice. That can fold away pretty easily. And I like how the seats are also perforated, so you're not going to be like sweating or anything back here, which is also a good touch. In this center console area over here, we're getting two USB-C ports and our own air vents, though we're not getting any sort of controls to control our climate system back here whatsoever. Carpet on the floor actually feels quite nice. It doesn't feel cheaper, though again, nothing not as nice as a Lexus may be. We do actually have a hump in the floor, which is a little bit interesting. It might be for like sort of battery packs and electric stuff, because there's no drive line going from the front of the car to the rear, because the rear wheels are powered only by electric motors, which is pretty cool. But thankfully we do still have a pretty good amount of space in this center seat, as it is a mid-size vehicle, so we have a little bit more of width and length back here, so that allows for three adults to actually sit back here not too bad. And I'll show you guys headroom. As you can see, I'm sitting in this middle seat here, and thanks to this panoramic glass roof, which goes all the way back behind our heads and this second row, I can actually sit back here as a 6-foot tall adult. Coming into the cider seats over here, I have about an inch, I would say, of headroom. It's definitely a little bit shorter. If I was over 6 feet tall, I'm not too sure if I'd be comfortable back here unless I was kind of resting back. So it's definitely something to consider. Though again, this giant panoramic glass roof definitely does help with headspace otherwise. But of course, this Crown is also about front passenger and driver comfort. So let's go hop up front now and see how that experience is. Now, one luxury touch I actually do quite like that they include on the Crown is that you have door access on all 4 doors. So as you can see on the rear doors here, I also have a touchpad. A lot of other German luxury manufacturers don't even do this anymore, which is kind of weird. We do have fully powered mirrors. I like how they're mounted on the door, so you get a little bit more visibility out of these kind of side window areas. Blind spot, repeaters on there, which is also quite nice. Like I said, fully keyless access door systems over there, which is quite nice. And these doors up here are also just as nice. They go all the way down to the bottom of the vehicle to prevent dirt from getting on here. I like these illuminated aluminum side sill plates, so this glows up at night in the centerpiece area over here, which is quite nice. And of course, these seats up here have a lot more power adjustments than the rear, which has no adjustment really, not even recline. So we do have lumbar, two-way lumbar, as well as full power adjustment, which is quite nice. Let's hop inside. Again, really easy to get in, but definitely make sure to duck your head getting in here. This kind of A-pillar is a little bit on the lower side, I've noticed. Closing up the door sounds nice and solid, as we should expect from these Toyota models. And this is where I kind of have to reiterate in here that this is a much more longevity-focused vehicle. Let's power it on. Everything comes to life in here. And what I mean by that is that all the materials in here are nice. They're well built, I would say. They're not super luxurious as you might get in a Lexus, but I think it's more premium than a typical run-of-the-mill Toyota. And all of them are the more traditional Toyota parts. We have all normal switchgear over here for our window controls, our mirror controls, much more traditional power folding mirrors. Same thing with the door handles, like I mentioned with the rear seats. Regular style door handles. You know, we don't have like digital stuff in here that may break over time that we don't know, but you know, just want to be cautious. Easy controls over here for accessing our automatic high beams as well. We have headlight washers, which is pretty cool, and a windshield wiper de-icer, which I love that feature. And much more traditional style Toyota steering wheel, of course leather wrapped with this nice contrast white stitching. It's very reminiscent of the Camry's steering wheel actually. Now we do have paddle shifters on here, automatic
high beams, like I mentioned, as well as automatic wipers, a nice luxurious touch. We do have full adaptive cruise control, steering assist, lane tracing assist, all of Toyota's amazing acronyms for their safety sense systems. This is the highest level, so you have a lot of stuff going on in here. And again, the rest of this interior is very simple in its design and controls. I really like how they kind of carried the headlight design into the interior on this dash over here. This is a soft touch material that I actually have seen in some Lexus products, such as the TX that I remember this material is in. So that's quite nice, I guess. And this kind of leather material is carried over onto the dash, which is also nice. Kind of this more driver-centered cabin over here. We have nice soft touch over here for our knees. Nice, comfortable, big seats as well. Perforated leather, adjustable headrest. You can see that contrasting kind of gold piping stitching throughout the entirety of the seats as well. Nice big seat cushions, and they also have actually some nice side and lateral support for both the lower cushion and the upper cushion, so it's actually quite nice. This entire armrest in the center area over here is also wrapped in this very nice cushy leather material, and it opens more like a Lexus style than a Toyota. It opens in this bifolding way in that sense, where you can go either side, which is quite cool. And even these little buttons over here in this kind of that gold finish, which is quite nice. Lots of space in here. We have this multi-level storage. This can be removed. We have a USB-C port down there. It's quite big, actually. I do like that. Pretty solid feeling. Nice matte materials over here, and I like how this is not just gloss black plastic. It's this kind of metallic, kind of dark gold finish over here, so that's quite nice as well. Nice big cup holders over here for microphones, but this is cool. This can be removed actually to have a little bit more of a storage space, maybe fit a bigger cup, like a Stanley mug or something can fit right there, or you can put this back in and have a more divided cargo space, which is also quite nice. You can also have 2 USB-C ports over here, a nice wireless charger that really locks your phone into place there, and a very slim, more luxurious looking shifter than I would say than some other Toyota products. It operates in a lot of their hybrid formats, where you go down for drive, neutrals hold this way, reverse, sport mode as well, and press to park. We have a drive mode select. They're very sleekly integrated over here for our few drive modes. We have custom, sport, normal, and eco. Pretty nice drive modes there. Hold mode, EV mode. Of course, this is a hybrid. You can go low speeds on EV mode, and a gigantic traction off button. Very reminiscent of actually what's on the Supra, which is kind of funny. And of course, an e-brake right there. But this is a very traditional cabin. And I keep saying that because we still have buttons in here, and they're tactile buttons. They're easy to use, easy laid out. And I think everything in here is very well thought out and designed. It's very easy to access in line of where your hands are on the steering wheel. They want to keep your hands on the wheel, keep you focused on the road, while also being able to quickly access something. So like your volume knob right here in the center, very easy in a reach from the steering wheel over here. And it's also in that kind of nice goldish finish touch over there. Same thing with all these controls down here. We have all physical controls. So we have ventilated seats and heated seats up front here, which is quite nice. Easy access controls for all of our climate systems as well. We also have a heated steering wheel control right in the center, and everything can be in automatic as well. Kind of choose what it thinks is best for you, depending on the weather on the inside and outside of the vehicle. We have our S-Flow as well to kind of direct airflow to only occupied seats to save energy, which is quite nice. And you have more climate settings in this infotainment system as well, if you want to kind of dive into those. Very sleek air vents over here, nothing too complicated either. Nice big hazard switch there. We have a glove box, which is lockable, which is nice. A lot of people aren't making lockable glove boxes anymore. It feels very solid. That's what the whole thing with this interior. It's very solid, well built, and and you feel like it's going to last long. And that's really, I think, the point of this car. The technology, on the other hand, I'm not too big of a fan of some of the things Toyota's been doing with their technology. For example, this infotainment system, we've seen it on every single new Toyota and honestly Lexus products as well, with a different skin on it. It works totally fine. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just if there's a lot of information, I would say, and if you're someone who gets a little bit overstimulated, if there's too much stuff going on the screen in front of you, it might be a little bit of a hassle. But thankfully, you can customize these screens to pretty much however you like and kind of reduce the information down to some more simple gauges. You have a lot of controls in here though. All of your safety systems are found in the center screen, and they're all acronymized. And this infotainment system as well, I like how it's very easily accessible from touch. This is one of the easiest infotainment systems that are both right on the dash for you, right there. It's not really distracting. You don't have to look down or anything. It's right in the line of your touch from the steering wheel as well. Very quick and easy to access as well. And it's pretty much the same thing we've seen on all new Toyota and Lexus infotainment systems, just skinned for this Crown vehicle. So in our vehicle settings area, we have plenty of settings to go through. And since this is a more premium Toyota product, we're getting a lot more options in here that we can customize. I love this energy flow screen showing what's going on with the hybrid system, for example, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's a little bit cumbersome, I would say, the system though, sometimes. I like how you can kind of add in Apple Music though. Just sign into your account. You don't have to use your phone, for example. Same thing with things like Amazon Music. Simple radio is still on here as well. You can have satellite radio, Sirius XM, of course. But yeah, I like how this vehicle really kind of teaches you how to use a lot of the things inside. Just the screen with all the safety systems. I like that we have them. Just a little bit convoluted to use. But let's go take this Crown Signia out on a drive, see how efficient it is, see how it handles itself on the road, and if it really is a true premium Toyota in the sense that it can blend a lot of those Toyota reliability, just easy to use button style features with all of that Lexus derived comfort and sound insulation and stuff. Let's go dive in. So right off the bat, this is a Toyota hybrid. So how is it like to drive? Well, I think it's really interesting. So it drives more like a car. So if you get out of a Camry, for example, and get into this, it drives like that. It doesn't drive like a RAV4. It doesn't drive like a Highlander. It doesn't drive like an SUV. It drives like a car. And that's my main thing. If you blindfolded me, put me in this in a Camry, they're pretty similar in terms of their overall driving dynamics. Now, one thing you will note though between the two vehicles, for example, is this is quieter. There's a little bit more sound deadening in here versus a typical Toyota, but not as much as a Lexus. So you're kind of seeing that in between standpoint there. But the main excelling areas of this vehicle are just cruising along. It's really not a performer. It's not a sporty vehicle. It's not a dynamic vehicle either in that sense. It's just meant to be a comfortable, quiet, reliable, just cargo family hauler and just comfortable highway cruiser that's always going to get you from A to B reliably with good MPG and a low fuel price at the pump. So that's really all of the main hallmarks, I would say, of this all-new Toyota Crown Signia. And it also looks pretty unique and interesting while doing so. Just to add in that fact as well. But just driving around town, very light, but very light steering. It's not super direct. There's a lot of just play, I would say, in the steering. But once you start getting into that turn in, Toyotas have this very characteristic feel when you kind of turn into a corner where it gives you a little bit more turn in from this rack. But, again, comfortable cruising vehicle. And this is the nicely appointed cabin as well. We have plenty of nice materials, leathers. It's not as nice as a Lexus, but it's pretty nice. I like we have a lot of tactile controls, all for our climate systems. Nice, easy to access, easy to reach buttons. The touchscreen's easy to reach from the steering, from where your hands are on the steering wheel, and it's pretty responsive and quick as well. So I do quite like that. And of course, when you're driving around here with a full battery pack, you can pop it into EV mode, which I'll do right now. And you can see under very light throttle applications, we can drive around in EV mode. Pause for you guys to hear the whir of the electric motors, but if you get a little bit too quick or you press the accelerator too far, it's going to deactivate EV mode. But I am still in it, and I've been able to go pretty far in EV mode, which is pretty cool. But you kick it onto throttle, gets right out of EV mode, and that gas engine seamlessly kicks in as part of this system. Toyota's really good with these hybrid systems. I really was impressed with this hybrid system in the Camry, just of how inobtrusive it is. You never know when the engine's turning off or on. It's acceleration in sport mode for you guys. It's pretty quick for what it is. It's around 240-ish horsepower, like I mentioned, but this is not meant to be a quick vehicle. 0 to 60 is 7+ seconds. That's perfectly adequate for 99% of the people on the road these days. So it just gets that job done pretty well. And around town, very comfortable. The only complaint I would say on the comfort side of this vehicle is that I think these 21-inch wheels just might be a little bit too big. You have a decent sidewall on these tires, but it does kind of reverberate some stuff through the floor, the road into the cabin just a little bit, but I think it's well damped to the point where it kind of gets washed out pretty well. Again, really light steering through that corner. It's just pretty slow steering rack, which is good, for the people. I think this vehicle is targeted towards the market. They don't really want a quick, direct steering rack that, if you're making a lot of quick movements, it's just still going to be a nice, smooth, comfortable experience. We do have automatic brake hold as well when you come to a stop, which is nice. And this giant panoramic glass roof above us is really nice, but you know, it doesn't open, which is a little bit frustrating, I think. But it is nice how big it is and how much light it brings into the cabin, because this is a pretty low roof line, I would say. My head's almost hitting the roof. This vehicle is pretty low in terms of its roof height, even though it is a little bit higher off the ground than a typical sedan or wagon would be, because it's kind of like this crossover vehicle. And again, other things to note, we don't have a heads-up display on here, which is pretty interesting. I think that would have been a nice addition, but you know, that might be stepping too much on Lexus's toes for the Toyota team there. And again, you know, just great praise for this hybrid powertrain for being a fantastic hybrid system in itself. It's so seamless in its application. I like how you can use this energy flow monitor to see what's happening with your brakes, as well as with your whole system. And now I have the PDA turned on, and what will happen is it can actually sense vehicles in front of you, and it will come to a stop using the deceleration assist, which you can turn on or off through this center screen, which is very difficult to use if you've never used the system. Unfortunately, it may not look difficult at first, but look at all of these acronyms. Toyota, what is all of this stuff? I mean, I can understand it because I stare at this stuff all day for my own entertainment, but people getting into this are going to need to take like a course. There's DA, OAA, SA, the sensitivity of the PDA system. I don't think people are really explaining this well to, I think, a lot of buyers. And it's a lot of great features that this car has. We have rear cross traffic alert, rear cross, I think pedestrian alert, rear... there's so much stuff in here. It's kind of mind-boggling, but it all does work pretty well. I just wish it was labeled better and kind of just taught better to a lot of consumers, or just put into the infotainment system instead of having it out all stuffed into the screen where it's a little bit clumsy to use most of the time. Okay guys, we're gonna head out onto the highway here. Let's pop it into sport mode to just see what kind of acceleration we get. You know, not the quickest vehicle. We do have paddle shifters if you want to attempt to shift this eCVT. There's the acceleration here under full throttle. And you know, this is not like those more naturally aspirated engined CVTs in the sense where they've been programmed a lot these days to act as regular 8-speed or 7-speed automatics. This is still like a CVT. It revs itself out to get the maximum power out of this engine. But you have to remember, this vehicle is only using this engine to power the front wheels. The rear wheels are driven by electric motors, so it's a little bit of an interesting powertrain experience. But I would say sport mode definitely gives you a little bit more throttle response, prioritizes the engine a little bit more versus the electric motors, and just delivers all that power at once. So that's nice. These other modes, I think, vary power distribution between the electric motors and the gas engine. Out here on the highway, it's a pretty comfortable vehicle. I do have to say the suspension softens up a little bit more, I would say, versus when it's on side roads. I think it feels a little bit stiffer on side roads just because there's more bumps, at least in my particular area. This obviously could be totally different to where you live, but out here on the highway, I think it's a little bit more of a area that suits this vehicle more so. Now, one thing to keep in mind though that I've noticed, if you're traveling on higher speed highways and you want to maintain that speed, this vehicle just doesn't appreciate, I wouldn't say, or just isn't a vehicle that likes to go quickly. It's a more efficient leaning vehicle. So out here on the highways, I really like to use the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 systems and just pop it into full radar adaptive cruise control here honestly, and just let it do its own thing. So out here on the highway, on the right hand side of the steering wheel, all we have to do is pop it into that said mode, and I already have my lane keep assist on, lane tracing assist, all that stuff. So it's following the lanes via the cameras and the radar. It knows the vehicles in front of us, and it does a pretty good job, actually, I would say, at it out here on the highway. We have easy distance control, and I like that. And if, let's say, if there's a vehicle in front of you, you're going on highway speed, you're going on a downhill, it's going to recognize that, and it might actually just shut the engine off automatically just to save the power, even though that it normally does that in normal operation since this is a Toyota hybrid. But it's kind of a little bit more of a smarter system on this radar cruise control side where it can do it itself, which is quite cool as well of a feature. Gosh, I think I was incorrect, guys. It does have lane change assist. So the Crown Signia does have lane change assist as well as part of these functions, which is quite nice. You can either just hold the turn indicator or fully press it and it will change lanes for you. Of course, you have to keep your hand on the wheel and monitor your surroundings, of course, unlike some other systems which are a little bit more advanced like Super Cruise. But this is nice that this vehicle has it. Again, a nice elevated feature that you might not get in a lot of Toyota products, but you can get it in the Crown and of course Lexus products. So it's again that blending of classes here. So guys, is it worth the 52 grand that this particular one is asking? I'm not too sure. It's definitely an expensive ask for this car. It's unique, but you have to remember, again, the purposes of it. It's delivering a more premium Toyota experience and a more traditional Toyota experience. They're not doing anything groundbreaking on purpose here. They are putting in a reliable, long-lasting powertrain. They're putting in buttons, hard buttons that you can use that aren't going to be, you know, accessed by a subscription down the road, or going to be breaking all if they're all, you know, built into a screen. It's just, everything here is meant to work, it's meant to last, it's meant to be efficient, and it's meant to be a spacious, just comfortable all-around vehicle. And all those points I think it does very, very well. I think even for this fully loaded version, it shouldn't even be over 50 grand, I would say. But, you know, where they're positioning this vehicle, I think that's okay. Just have to remember there are so many Toyota and even Lexus SUVs now that choosing between some of them might be a little bit difficult. So that's why I always say go out in person, test drive these vehicles, and once you start digging into them a little bit more and understanding each of their purposes a little bit more, I think they make more sense out of the lineup. But nonetheless, I'd say as an average buyer, it is definitely a little bit confusing. As anyways, guys, thank you guys for joining me on another video here on Allcarnews, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.